Hello, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing experiment on Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice 9.11 and dealing with the surrender and reorganization of China. Now, just to update you, and I probably should have kept going, but just had a crash when after what's this, Yunnan diplomacy, yeah, Yunnan surrendered. A bunch of conditions happened. I decided to just, before going down the road, decided to save the game, and that crashed it. And I think it was because some of the conditions were there at that time. And I'm saying that because immediately we're no longer in war. So I had stopped research on a few texts that can only be, or doctrines like divisional HQs can only be researched while you're at war, and other things like that. And I had stopped some of those. Maybe I didn't catch everything. I'm not exactly sure why, but trying to save it with all that conditions stuff, some of it pending, some of it I just agreed to crashed it. So that's a warning. We are likely to be restarting and stopping this game, so you'll likely have black screens. Okay, pause. You are likely to have not for sure, because this may just work, but even if we crash, we'll probably just go to black. I'll still talk to you, so you'll know that things are basically working, and I'll be reloading. Obviously with a crash we have to restart, but even if we were talking about simply I don't like the outcome of things, then we very well. They're too far inland. They've got lots of money, need some supplies. There we go. Maybe still under too much. Remember the Allies. I don't know if that affected that. Okay, Japan, no, we don't want to trade with Japan because they may be at war soon, and we don't want to sink all of their transports. New Zealand, no, they don't have. Romania. No. Soviet Union. No. The Spanish Republic. They won this time, remember? No, they don't like us. Didn't know that they would. Sweden. No, they don't like us enough. Tibet. Do they want a supply? Yes, we'll do that. Trying to get markets other than the US or other likely combatants, but US particularly, because I figure they're going to embargo us, where some of the other allies here, they don't have enough money coming in. Brazil, they got a little bit of money, need the supplies. No. We'll try. Ah, okay. And they got a fair amount of money, so let's, don't want to overload their system, but let's see if we can do that. Canada. No. Ecuador, let's see if they'll buy 3. That's good. We're sort of spreading this out. Okay. That is good. Now, also before we go anywhere, I'm going to make another test save just in case it isn't something already causing a problem. No. Good. And I want to make even another one. Okay, they'll get there on May 12th. May 17th. Looking like May 12th is the day. This is coming down from up here. Yeah. Okay, radar advanced. Yes, I've already talked briefly about this. Oh, also, we have 110 and plus officers. I did notice that before. I'm going to come down to right about 20. Now let's lock that there. May even reduce it more later. We'll stop that radar, but we will do that. That should use up our allotted slots. May 9th, May 8th. Don't know why it's changing. Okay, grand battle plan. So we're going to stop that. There we go. That would be good. Let's see who else might. Guatemala. Oh, money. Oh, they've got money. Okay. See if we can sell them 2 supplies. No. Either they don't like us, or they don't have the shipping, or something. Poland. Yeah. Okay, they need. Well, they got money for almost 3. So let's. There we go. There we go. Switzerland, I don't think we can. They've got a surplus of money and need. They've got 14 money, and let's do that. I don't think it's possible to get Turkey to probably join either side, but now we're back to May 11th. Don't know if weather's changing as that much. Combat medicine, very good. Let's move over to armor piercing capped. That will help out our piercing on many units. The Nagoya Division, 38, that's just an HQ. Okay, they currently the 9th. It was 11th. Don't know are any of these guys gonna get there before that. The 12th. Airplane radio communications advanced, very good. And we'll stop that. Yeah, we'll do that. That helps out a lot of HQs. Probably all, well, I don't know. Mech HQs, the core type. Yeah, that'll help out. And provincial AA efficiency, that'll be good. I think we can wait till the 8th. Okay, we're gonna very good. I thought this was all going to happen 2 episodes ago. But just driving into these mountains. Okay, this is when I tried to save it here is when we had the collapse. Okay, so we've lost the 3-year draft. We're going to demobilize army. That's what that was. What's that? What's that symbol? I'm just so not used to seeing your country is mobilized in peacetime. So we're going to demobilize, which gets rid of that. We're demobilizing our armed forces. I'm going to let this... We now... Oh, look at our consumer goods. Is that why we want to go to war with... Tibet and whatnot, just to keep a war going? Excuse me. Okay. So, let's go through this. We saved this just a day or so before, so we won't have so much to replay if we don't like what we're going to give. So we're going to give Chinese territory to the Republic of China Nanjing. Okay. So now all but, whether you count these parts as China or not, is now all unified there. And then we have annex the coast. Annex the Chinese coastal areas. Okay, so we are down right now at effectively 287 ICs. We're gonna do this. So now, okay, well, this gives it, unfortunately, doesn't give us this. Aluminum, well. Okay, Your Imperial Highness, neutrality has happened to us. Okay, we've lost, or we've regained, because we lost those. What? Chile, Gulf, and Taiwan Strait. Propaganda fails. We've lost that because we're no longer at war, and we have first aid. Okay, now we're up at 314 instead of 287. So of course we still have fairly massive civil needs now. And we have inefficient, well, first aid, but is this good enough to go on? Because of the shift in power, we'll have to rebuild these back up because they keep shifting around. The aluminum, that is significant. Horses are significant. Okay, well, we have tungsten now, back again. Okay, well. Okay, so we're not going to get it below 2. I think that's going to be the minimum. Revolt risk in here. And you can see the red ones here. These are partially done. They're taking up leadership, but they're not progressing, so we're stopping those. We don't lose the progress we have made in stopping those, so those are good to stop at this point. Diesel engine. These 3. Okay, we need to get extra wide tracks if I understand this. So, extra wide tracks, medium armored designs. Okay, so we've got to get to there. So we've got to get this to 4. Oh man. AV fighting and track. Armored fighting vehicle and track. That is not those. Oh, this one here. Well, we could get that. Am I reading it? No, they both have to be at least 4. And to get that. So we're about stuck here with these. We'd have to do 2 more of these. Not that we won't, but we're not getting this anytime soon. Okay. Okay, assault weapons. Yeah, that would be good. A lot of defense improvements there. We're going to be defending islands and things. And we have a little more. Well, we can improve our submarine classes. That would be good. Okay, now of course we would be facing these kinds of things. Okay, let's see. Stern imperialist, yes. Normal black ice, send in the goon squads, nationalism. Nationalism is about the thing that would... Maybe sending in the goon squads originally wasn't a good idea. I don't know. I mean, obviously we have a minimum here. Oh, I don't know. This, the coastal regions, I'm sure we can get down to, you know, to roughly level 2. For control purposes. We need to send a lot more units south. I don't want revolt risks going. And so the real question in my mind is it... Well, okay, one, what good does having nationalist China even exist do for us? You know, what good? We'll be moving some of these troops. Well, we can come down to the port here. Away, I think, in time, because we're not going to leave combat troops doing garrison duty, if we can help it. And it's cheaper both in manpower and in ICs. We just build more of them. Okay, so part of this is, all of this is about ICs. Part of this is about resources. But like what good of having the country? And we could still, at this point, we could still go and inform Manchukuo if we wanted to. That would give us Puppet Master, or whatever, or help us give that. Regional Puppet Master is three vassal countries, which manpower good, money good, resources great. I think there's a higher level one too. I don't know why it's not showing up right there. Maybe a trick of things. But like if you get 5 or more, you lose the smaller one and you get a chance at having more benefits. Now, we could keep, and yeah, as you know, I was planning on reloading this here, but thinking I'm wanting your input and your thoughts, because we could keep all of China, like before we jump back a few episodes, and I could play from there. Whether I play for the cameras or not, I don't know, but replay that. Keep all that land. Keep, build, we'll be getting more manpower because of having more territories that give us some manpower. Build more police units. This is just so bad because we have like 0 police units down in this area here. Where this isn't so bad at all. I mean, this is sort of at its, you know, minimum. You can find places that, you know, just put a few more policing units. And then, of course, the reason we have no supplies is, I don't know where we're not flowing supplies into these areas. So, yes, I sort of have a problem of not being able to not play. What is this? Gain Guangzhou? And so instead of having China as our puppet, you know, we can have Beijing, Jiang, and Tibet. I think we can take Tibet. Tibet is the one I'm most worried about, just because of god-awful mountains trying to fight in there. But we have some good mountain units, and I can even bring in these guys here that I just didn't. These are pretty elite units that I was looking at sort of for the, you know, Burma fun and games kind of thing. For these guys, and I just never sent them because I didn't think they'd get here in time, and probably wouldn't have. So we could have these two as puppets, declare war on both, and push immediately into there while still controlling all of China and keep China. Then have these guys as puppets. And keep China direct, which will mean, like I say, a heavy policing element, but a doable one, and one that what I would be doing is focusing police units on here, because we can see revolt risk is affecting our resources. I don't think revolt risk specifically affects the ICs of that province. What does affect the ICs, we're getting full benefit of the ICs right here. What does affect the ICs is if we are occupying territory, not annexing territory, and then our occupation standards. But we were conquering and not occupying China before, so we owned it. So we get full ICs. Let's find a province with some leadership. Okay. Okay, I think we get full benefit of leadership and manpower. That's almost uber. But then again, we're going to be facing America and possibly the Soviet Union. And of course the British Empire and whatnot. So I'm leaning towards, tell you what I'm leaning towards, and I really love your input, and I know some people will, and it's really cool to thumbs up thing, but I don't always, you know, you may see it a day or two later and I don't go back and look at the thread. I get notifications when people post things, so when you post something I get notified. So posting is what is So if you see somebody that has your exact same point and you do the thumbs up thing, cool, do it for him, because if he ever goes back and looks at it, he sees, and other people see that people agree with it. But what's really important to just, keep China. You can just say something that's simple: keep China, or release China and keep the coast. And it's like, I don't quite honestly need or want Tibet as a Japanese province, because I look at this and go, there's nothing here. And if it borders on, well, I don't know that currently that Western Tibet is an access to anywhere, so it's not an invasion path, and unless somebody turns it, I've got it to become the Axis. I don't think I've ever seen it go the Allies or Comintern through diplomacy. So I'm not really worried about that. I am worried a little bit about Xi'an becoming a Soviet puppet. I don't care. I mean, because this isn't accurate, because we don't get accurate information from here, but I don't really care about however many ICs. Not that wouldn't be nice, but don't really care about it. And for the most part, I don't need these limited amounts of resources. We are importing some of this, I think, still. Yeah, traded 446, but some of that will go away either because it's too treacherous trade routes, or it's going to be embargoed. Now the oil, that is 156 traded for, so now of course we will have a chance to grab up a bunch. I don't know if it's enough, but a bunch down here. So that's what I'm looking at. And of course, we could still get Xi'an and Tibet and still keep Republic of China. Now, I'm not going to do that here, but in some of my playthroughs, I've definitely altered things. I probably would have made sure that I'm sure. Well, no, because they never annexed any of this except for like Port Arthur. Even when it was this strip of stuff here that wasn't. I don't think generally it wasn't considered part of Manchukuo ever, but once they got down here, under the, I'm saying Manchukuo, not Manchuria. I don't think it was ever really considered part of Manchukuo. It was a version of China Republic thingy looking for it. Where's one of these guys? This flag. This flag goes back to this sort of little puppet regional thing when it was really small, but often, shall we say, directly administered by the Japanese army, and those are just sort of, shall we say, civil servants and whatnot. You want a job delivering the post, delivering the mail, just, sign up here, kind of thing. But all of the real sort of management was all Japanese, and not in the early days. The puppets were very, very puppet. Meijing and Manchukuo, well, Meijing, I think was fairly internally run on their own, just because Japan didn't care. Just wasn't there to care. Japan did care about Manchukuo, and was massively exploiting it for its resources. And to exploit its resources, it was developing a lot of industry. So I don't think, God, I don't know, but I don't think there was much final production, like, oh, we're making this rifle here. But there was definitely like steel production, and I do believe things like, making the rails of the railroads, which would be a final production. But, infrastructure production, just because you have the steel here and you're building railroads here, why ship either the iron after you've refined it, or the steel after you made it? Because steel is really, not refining iron is an industrial process, but I would say steel is even more of a manufacturing process than just a refining process. So there was a lot of industry going here, as well as just resource exploitation, where you will find in other parts of like places like in Africa. I'm not talking South Africa so much, because they did have manufacturing down here. They converted one of their mints for making coinage, of whatever type, but we can think of the gold Cougaran, but whatever type, over to basically 303 British ammo production, because it was, set up to melt things. They put in a lead press. Don't know if you know about ammunition making, and converted the stamping machines that would stamp coins to sort of do the stamping process to make, stamping out the brass cartridges and such like that. So it was already somewhat set up, and they converted it from that at some point during the war into ammo production. And it's sort of a small time ammo production might be enough for the training purposes used in South Africa, but you couldn't, at least from the film footage that I saw, and it was pretty efficient, but you couldn't upkeep with just like, I don't know, the Battle of the Bulge. Not everything going on the Western Front, but just, or something, the amount of bullets fired per day. It wasn't, when you're skirmishing around and ever so often breaking out into furious firing, because there wasn't daily big battles going on here, partially because, again, they didn't have the ammo on both sides, because they got all the ammo in the ammo dump, and you shoot it, and the truck's got to go back and get more, and the Italians got to ship more over. So ammo was a limitation. So maybe they could be producing at the overall consumption rate on the Western Desert for the British or something. But most, and presumably maybe some ammo production in Egypt. But outside of that, there's like no machinery in Africa. So this is what I don't think a lot of people understand. There was no machinery production to produce bullets in Africa, I believe, beyond that. Not like in Rhodesia, or in Ethiopia. It was all imported. So that means like guns are imported and all that's imported. Now there was a lots of raw materials brought out, and to my understanding, just sort of minimal refining processes kind of thing, and then you were hauling all of that iron ore out to be manufactured into steel. But Manchuria was being given those kind of stuff, but that was all directed by the Japanese. And there was a colonization movement, which I've learned about. I don't know its ends. What was the end goal of the colonization movement? I just can't imagine. But maybe I just can't be in their heads. I can't imagine them thinking that they were going to replace the Manchurian population with Japanese. Just the Japanese population isn't that. This isn't a Lebensraum kind of thing that Germany was doing. The populations are pretty big. Here, and I just don't see it. I may be entirely wrong, but I don't see it. I think it was to get I think a good element at its heart is Japan is somewhat overpopulated, and it has lots of farmers without enough land for them to be effective. So it is to get a bunch of these people that are destitute. See, there was in National Socialist Germany, there were people destitute, basically, without, when I say destitute is they may own a farm or something like that. So that's a property value, but that farm doesn't produce enough food to feed themselves, or it just barely does that. So you have no money, you can't buy clothes. You have to save money to buy cloth to then make the clothes, and very sort of destitute. under National Socialist Germany, after a few years, there are basically no destitute people in Germany unless, and I want to make very clear about this, unless you're the wrong type of person. You know, a Jew, a communist, whatever the wrong type of people are. There's you basically get to the point that if you want to have, you know, food, you can get a job, and a reasonably well-paying job. Now this isn't, as you know, any real defense of National Socialist Germany. It was still a horror show. But in Japan, throughout this period of Japan, there is a significant population that is destitute. That is partially why so many men go into the army, I do believe, is because the army isn't maybe so much a paycheck, but a meal. You know, it's to the point that they're not worried about, oh, well, is it a good, you know, what's the pay like? No. Oh, they give me clothes and a meal? I'm joining the army because I have rags and I don't have food. The army will give me clothes and a meal and a place to sleep and that kind of thing. So a lot of young men go into the army because of that. I think that is the primary motivation for like the farmers and whatnot moving to Manchukuo. Now there's definitely middle level and upper level management of the various companies like the South Manchurian Railway and some of the other steel companies, that they're bringing in experienced technical people that are Japanese to run things. All of those operations are way too big to be exclusively Japanese manpower. Now, a lot of the manpower or a lot of the power, you know, doing the mining is still sort of in the manpower phase as opposed to the machine power. Meaning, instead of a guy working a bulldozer or some sort of, you know, digger machine, you got guys with picks and shovels doing that kind of work. So, yeah, and so, you know, they bring in lots of Japanese, but I don't see as an end result it really becoming a Japanese, you know, primary, you know, majority population. I don't even see them as necessarily in the long term as overlords, the people, but I see them maybe as superior citizens. And then you have the elite citizens of the Manchukuoans, and then you have the other Manchukuoans, and kind of thing like that. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So I really like your input on this. Keep China, release China into this. What to do about Xi'an and Tibet. It's like Meizheng. I don't really care about Meizheng. It just, you know, I'm glad it has a little bit of resources and IC. And what's this? 2 armaments factory levels. Yeah. Glad it has that. It's watching my flank with Mongolia. So yeah. Thanks. Oh, and if there was a reasonable option to sort of like create Western China puppet, I would probably take that as well, because I'm not greedy for every last IC or even every last resource, but just a little too much, I think. Okay, see you next time for more Hearts of Iron